The book of Joshua starts at the same place that the book of Deuteronomy ends, with the death of Moses at Mount Nebo. The first major event in the book of Joshua is Joshua leading the chosen people into the Promised Land. Once in the Promised Land, we see a switch from a nomadic way of life to an agricultural one. In the region of the Promised Land, there are people who worship false gods, or pagan gods. One of the main pagan gods is Baal. The chosen people are warned to avoid these people and their pagan gods. In the book of Joshua, we see Joshua's military conquests in the Promised Land. Most of these conquests are not due to the Israelites themselves, but God's involvement with the issue. God never fails his people. At the beginning, Joshua receives a mission and promise from God. His mission is to bring the Israelites into the Promised Land. His promise is that God will be with him like he was with Moses and all ancestors before him. In this story, Joshua is a military leader, while Moses in the Pentateuch was more of a spiritual one. In this book, there are stories of great miracles as well as great conquests. One of the great miracles is when the chosen people crossed the Jordan River. The priests first walked into the water with the Ark of the Covenant. As this happened, a rock slide occurred. This stopped the water from flowing, making it possible to cross. Even though this is a naturally occurring event, it is miraculous in timing and effect. In this book, there are also stories of great military conquests, one of which is the fall of Jericho. The city of Jericho has walls that are basically impenetrable. Therefore, the Israelites have to call upon God for assistance. For 6 days, the priests carried the ark around the city once per day. Then, on the 7th day, the priests carried it around 7 times. After the 7th time, the Israelites screamed and blew their horns. And as this was happening, the walls came crumbling down. This story is significant, as this was not an Israeli victory, but a victory of God. Another story of great military triumph by God is when Joshua helps the Gibeonites fight the Ammonite kings. God throws hail at the enemy. The hail kills more men than the swords of the Israelites. During this battle, the sun stood still. This has never happened before and will never happen again. This is yet another great win by God. Towards the end of the book of Joshua, Joshua gathers the tribes in Shechem. The purpose is to renew their covenant with God. Joshua explains the history of God to the Israelites. He explains that God never abandons. He tells his people to put aside other gods. He warns them that they would again fall into idolatry. At the end of this book, they divide up the land into the 12 different plots for the 12 different tribes of Israel, and Joshua dies. After the death of Joshua, we see a new period come into play. This period is a period of judges. A judge is a charismatic military leader. They ruled from the death of Joshua to the first king. The main goal of a judge is to liberate the chosen people from the enemy and to bring them back to God. The first judge is Gideon. Gideon is not sure if God is calling him. For this reason, he gives God a test. This test is to see if he is being called or not. The test is he's going to leave his fleece on a dry piece of ground and see if dew is found on the fleece. If he does, it is a sign that God wants him to lead. He performs this test and he does find dew on his fleece. Gideon then knows God wants him to lead. Gideon leads the chosen people. At the time, they are fighting the Midianites and the Midianites. He has to make it very clear that this is a victory of God and not of the chosen people. To do this, he shrinks the army. At the start, there are 32,000 troops. He tells the soldiers to go home if you are scared. He is left with only 10,000 troops. The next test is a drinking test. He only wants the most mentally challenged people to fight. He is left with 300 troops. They win the battle. Therefore, this is not a win of the chosen people, but a win of God.